Normally we have a Q&A session following the presentations at our webinars, but today, seeing that we're focusing primarily on Sasol's plans to introduce methane-rich gas into the pipeline network, as Wilmien says, we see this more as a panel discussion. Of course, we'll still ask the questions posed by the audience, and I therefore urge you all to list the questions you'd like answered on our Q&A board. Today we have with us Dr. Jaap Smit of Sasol. He's currently the Senior Manager accountable for the development and management of the Sasol gas infrastructure business, which includes the sourcing of gas and associated pipeline capacity. Secondly, we have Mr. Andries Rautenbach, Consulting Partner at OTC. Andries' experience includes leading organization and people transformation, business management, business process optimization, and project management. And as you've seen from his presentation, he's led several studies relating to gas supply. Thirdly, we have Mr. Charles Buys, a consulting partner and the director of OTC. And besides his 40+ years of engineering and business management experience, he has 17 years operating experience in the steelmaking, petrochemical, and utilities industries. And he knows the Sasol Secunda gas circuit very well. Lastly, we have Mr. Petrus Scholz, a consultant at OTC with extensive experience of LNG. He championed the first South African trials on small-scale containerized LNG imports, LNG as power generation fuel, and substitution of diesel with LNG in long-distance trucks. Now, with that panel, I think I'd like to ask a first question relating to the sources of MRG and natural gas. A question from Mr. Aditya Hegde of India. He would like to know what the real difference is between MRG and natural gas. Jaap, you've shown some slides with the compositions, but he's more interested in where it comes from, what the composition is, the major impurities, etc. And can you actually make LNG from MRG?
Thanks, Yuri. Okay, where does natural gas come from? And I mean, currently, as we indicated in the slides, the current source is the Panamanic gas fields. And yeah, I mean, making LNG from natural gas is, of course, feasible. On the MRG side, it came from coal that is gasified, that is basically being cleaned up. The only difference between MRG and natural gas will be the inerts in the system. I haven't heard anybody trying to liquefy MRG, but Andries Johan Freek is busy looking at studies to liquefy natural gas. Maybe you got a better a view on it, but I cannot see that MRG cannot be liquefied. Petrus.
I do think you can liquefy that. There's certainly no reason why not to. If you can liquefy hydrogen, you can liquefy MRG as well.
Yeah, Petrus, I agree. It could be as simple as that. The question is, why would I want to do that, though? But yes, you could potentially liquefy it.
Okay, I have a question for Jaap and Charles. With the gas coming in from Mozambique, does it mean that we have a number of gasifiers standing idle in Secunda at the moment, and that you'll utilize these gasifiers to generate MRG?
Charles, are you taking that, or do I take it?
Charles?
I can say that there are no gasifiers standing idle. I have not been on site or looked at it, but just looking at reports from Sasol and the many times that it was stated that the factory currently is bottlenecked because of coal supply and coal quality problems. Those gasifiers are working overtime and really suffering to produce enough syngas to supply the current MRG and fuels markets and chemicals markets. What I would like to add to that question maybe is I know that Sasol has embarked on a destoning project to alleviate some of the problems on the gasifiers. And Jaap, whether you have any indication that you would want to share. I think the project should be coming online end of this year. And what is the expected relief that the destoning project will cause to pure gas supply? And is that part of the reasons why there might be some MRG now available for the market in the bridging time?
Thanks, Charles. I think the whole destoning was discussed at the Capital Markets Day, and it's in the market. I don't know the dates, but no, making MRG available to the market, you need to cut the same amount of production on the chemicals and fuel business. So putting additional 40 or 60 petajoules of MRG into market, you need to reduce or you will reduce the production of chemicals and fuels in the same quantities. There's no additional gasifiers that will run to make more product. It will be a cut in production.
Well, that is actually bad news because of all of the diesel shortages in the country and the fact that the refineries went down. So Sasol also having to cut back is actually very detrimental for the country as a whole. But I understand the reason why you at Sasol has taken this position to help the gas market survive until proper solutions can be found. Have you ever considered adding gasification to be able to supply more MRG? Because that should be the cheapest way currently, in my mind, for supplying gas in the next 10 years or so to the South African market because of the great need forecasted for.
Shall you break up there at the end? But I think I got the what you wanted to ask. The reason why we currently say for a 2-year period and the current demand is, again, it's all about schedule. If we haven't put a peg in the ground and say, let's try what is technically feasible or what we currently know will be technically feasible, we work that up till 2030, that we get the project through gate 1, 2, 3, and 4 and do all of the governance to make sure that we at least can supply MRG till 2030. On the backside of that, of course, there is a project that was initiated that to say, can we provide a gas for longer, 32, 33, and of course, is there potential to supply more MRG to the market and what you just discussed, how do we change Secunda? All of that is upside to what we currently discussed today, and hopefully we will have a better answer this time next year when all of that studies was concluded to see is there possibilities that we can further extend not only the current supply, but also then the future supply. Just from a demand perspective, to make MRG and put that into gas to power, I don't believe that is the way to go. So again, it will be for the industrial market and hopefully, and if you look at the 400 petajoule demand, of course, that starts becoming outside the range. But we are looking at how do we optimize the benefit from MRG or using MRG from a longer term perspective and from an increased volume perspective.
Thank you, Jaap. And I really hope you guys are successful in getting the price managed, because I guess that is the major issue at this stage.
Thanks a lot.
Tim Foxon wants to know, so MRG is from gasified coal. That's the source material for producing MRG.
Yes.
Okay, thanks. A question from Nikki Lowe of Score Metals. He says, Yelp, your presentation touched on LNG and the MRG mix. Will mixing RLNG and MRG be possible without affecting end user equipment?
Okay. Yes, it can be mixed, but and if you look at the international market, mixing is done in Europe to make sure that the energy content stay constant. From a practical perspective and in the South African environment, mixing stations is extremely expensive and will add significant cost to the end producer. And at this stage, and what I tried to also show within the presentation that I made was what is the cheapest way of producing alternative while we look at long-term options. If there is a long-term option available where you can invest a couple of €100 million to install equipment, we will definitely look at that. But on the short term, what we try to do is to minimize the cost, but still ensure that we can provide a product that is aligned with what you currently get from the natural gas side.
Thanks, Yelp. I see some of our audience are putting up their hands. That's not going to help because we won't be able to hear what you have to say. If you have a question, please list it. And a question from Mr. Etienne Rubbers. He says there are costs involved for external customers' conversion from natural gas to MRG. Wouldn't a more optimal solution for South Africa be for Sasol to keep the NRG and to supply the natural gas market to supply the market with the natural gas they used to use to produce chemicals and fuels? So Sasol keeps the MRG, but keeps on supplying the natural gas from Mozambique directly through to the customers.
I mean, all of the options was considered, and from a Sasol perspective, the most appropriate one and making sure that we can have a continuous supply is to supply the MRG.
Okay. Mr. Foxon wants to know what's the carbon intensity of MRG versus LNG?
We're busy with a study on that one, and we'll go to all of the customers. Remember, from your own CO2 perspective, you make the same amount of CO2 when you burn 1 petajoule of natural gas than you do with 1 petajoule of MRG. From a CBAM perspective, and that's what we're currently looking at, and we'll advise the customers on from a reporting perspective what needs to go in and what is the intensities and all of that. But from a day-to-day perspective, one petajoule of natural gas produces the same amount of CO2 as 1 petajoule of MRG.
Yeah, but it goes a bit further than that. Seeing that MRG is generated from coal, it will have a higher carbon intensity than would LNG, for instance.
Yeah, we're doing that, but that is from, like I said, from a day-to-day perspective, but from a CBAM and from a reporting perspective, of course, we are doing all of the calculations. The same on the LNG side. What is the footprint of LNG, and we'll communicate that to all of the customers. It's a question that I've been asked, and we have asked the team to start putting the numbers together, and we will communicate to all of the customers.
Yeah, if I may, Yuri, I think that is a very important question, but even more important question is in the next 10 years or so, what is the highest priority on the South African strategic perspective? And that is, do we grow the economy or do we reduce the carbon intensity of the Southern Africa or South African industry? And to me, it is actually quite clear and an easy answer. It is currently more important to grow the economy than to reduce the carbon intensity for South Africa in the next 10 years.
Yeah, thanks for that one. I have a question from Ntsaku Chauki regarding the safety aspects of natural gas and MRG, and he wants to know if there are any real differences, because he's looked at the safety data sheets for MRG and he's worried that it contains hazardous components.
Jeroen, I think there's small differences within the two specs, but from an all-over safety perspective, and that's why we put on the spot leak from that everybody can smell it. Should there be a leak, and I think the biggest risk, of course, will be if it's combustion and there's a fire. So we treat them the same. And from an overall perspective, like I indicated, Sasol have been supplying that product to the market now for the last 30-odd years, and there haven't been any situation that I'm aware of, at least, where people got sick by using MRG versus natural gas. Yeah, there is small changes or differences, but we don't believe there's a risk by using MRG versus natural gas.
Okay, thanks for that. Perhaps a question to Petrus. Petrus, you've worked with changing customers over from LPG to LNG. What's typically required to accommodate changes in gas quality for the users?
When you look at the burner itself, your WOBE index is very often your more important thing to control. Now, WOBE index is calculated from your CV, your higher heating value, as well as your specific gravity of the gas. So as the composition changes, your gravity will change and your CV will change as well. And then you get your WOBE index. Now, if you look at a typical LNG WOBE index, if I remember correctly, let me just think quickly, you're looking at around 53 megajoule per normal cubic meter. LNG is typically that is for pure methane, and LNG then varies between 48 and 53. So when you change your gas composition and you calculate your WOBE index, you've got a leeway of about 5% either way, where you will have very little real effect on the burner itself. I'm not talking now about using it in your process itself, but in a burning application. So it's quite forgiving. Small changes should be necessary, but you'll have to look at every specific application to really see how much you need to change. But once you've set your settings, there is that about 5% leeway on the WOBE index. And I don't think, from what I've known about Sasol and the MRG over the time, that you'll find a massive change in the composition as it goes ahead. So I think once you've set it properly, customers should be very much fine on what they've got. If you look at the LNG itself and start mixing with LNG, typically LNG will have around a 94 to 98% methane, depending on where it comes from. If you look at specifications, the European specifications under REACH gives you LNG as a minimum of 75% methane. Now that's very, very low. You don't normally see that. If you look at Shell, they've got a 80 to 100% methane. So on the specifications, you've got a lot of potential variability on the methane content. Actually, what you see on the ground, much more 94, 98%. So when you start blending that with the MRG, you'll have to be careful that you actually have a very consistent blending going forward in order to get your WOBE index within that 5% range. I hope that clarifies it a little bit.
Thanks for that, Petrus. I hope you've not confused more people with your discussion on WOBE index than you've helped, but thanks for that.
Well, I think anybody in the gas market should really familiarize themselves with the Bobby Index. That is your go-to.
Yeah. A question from Anandrash Naidu, who wants to know, other than obvious pricing and environmental impacts, is there a specific reason for the emission of LPG and synthetic natural gas from the future scenario planning presented? Perhaps we can involve Andries in this discussion as well.
Let me do the one. There's a big debate on what do we call MRG? Do we call it MRG or synthetic gas within Sasol and with the regulator? So the current is we do a mix between synthetic gas, includes hydrogen-rich gas, includes fuel gas, all of that, whereas MRG is just a subset of synthetic gas. So the future synthetic gas, like I indicated, do play or currently play a significant role, and we do believe going forward will play a role in the mix. How long, that is the studies that we currently do. From an LPG perspective, Andries, you may be better to answer that question.
Yeah, very briefly, certainly LPG is not excluded. What we've indicated, certainly on my last slide, we are seeing differences in terms of what we start classifying as large consumers, large industrial consumers, medium, let me qualify, a large one is more than 1 million gigajoules per annum, which we're seeing, or 1 petajoule. And then we've got one from about 1 million to, say, 500,000, if I have that specific number correct. And then we have small consumers. So certainly LPG has not been excluded from smaller consumers, just from a study point of view. We just didn't show it specifically on our map. What we do see, though, is that it's very customer specific and requirement regarding the requirements.
Okay.
Yuri, I would like to add to that currently in South Africa, if I remember correctly, and the guys can help here, there's already a large shortage of LPG. So LPG is already imported. And the volumes required to play in the game that we are talking here is astronomical. So as a sustainable long-term, that is, I don't think even in the Sasol thinking process, but as a short-term solution for a specific customer that has a problem, that's always there.
So it certainly is possible to produce synthetic natural gas from LPG.
Absolutely, no problem.
Okay.
If I can cut in there as well. We did the presentation on ADER in our 4th webinar, and that is very specific, where they've been using LPG as a synthetic gas to blend into natural gas or LNG, regasified LNG.
Okay.
Now, Yuri, just to confirm what Charles just said, certainly LPG in terms of that volume is not a long-term solution which we have looked at.
Okay. Thanks, Andries. Anandrash Naidu also wants to know if there's a marked difference in gaseous densities between MRG and natural gas.
I think it's 3%, 2%, the difference, with MRG a little bit heavier because of your argon in. I've got the data someplace, but it's not significant.
Okay. Right. Andre Steinberg wants to know what the expected percentage drop in the customer demand would be due to proposed price increases. If the gas price goes higher, would there be less of a demand for gas?
Andries, I think you guys did more modeling on that than what I have.
Yeah.
This is a very difficult question, but
I know. So my answer would start off with saying, well, Andre, thanks for the question. How long is a piece of string? If I may say that, we have done some studies, but really there is a impact subject to price. So you could look at bands between from say $8 to $12, $14 per gigajoule, where you see a certain decline, and then thereafter we have actually as OTC a table or a pricing index of, not an index, but where we can say at what can a particular customer segment afford. So given a certain price, if you start going to $20 per gigajoule, you're going to see a certain amount of the customers that cannot accommodate that. And there is a table that we've got available on that. In terms of the exact percentages as requested, we don't have exact percentages as of yet. We have in some of the studies looked at some specific market segments, and there we've got an indication of a drop-off of that. It certainly is not 50%, once again subject to price, but once again also dependent on the availability of a long-term solution. But then I have to emphasize what Jaap has originally also said. We should guard in South Africa against losing the market because of shortages. Now, how long is the piece of string? But it's subject to pricing and subject to how we can land at what price the LNG, etc. So it's a bit of a roundabout way to try and answer it, but we don't have an exact percentage that we can say it's 15%, 20%, but you're looking at some decline, certainly.
Thank you for that. Charles, Anton Staflier wants to know whether the redirection of MRG to the market would lead to a shortage of diesel. You touched upon this in one of your answers.
Well, it will reduce the diesel production from imported. But it is currently to import diesel than to import and create all of the LNG plus landing stations or terminals and regasification systems. So in the short term, for the country, that is the correct decision. And just maybe what Andries has discussed just now, if I remember correctly, quite a few of the customers in the Sasol gas conversion in the olden days was converted from coal. So there might still be some of them that if the price goes up, that will go back to coal plus additional pollution abatement equipment. And I'm not sure whether that will be many or few, but it is a viable alternative in the medium term to reduce the date of the gas cliff. If you want to push that out as far as possible, it might be possible to convert some of the current gas users back to coal as an interim.
Charles, you were breaking up quite badly there during your response. I think there are internet problems throughout the country at the moment.
Yeah.
And it's not wonderful, but I think Anton got the response he was looking for.
Yuri, if I may add on that, certainly in the studies that we are doing and the discussions we are having, what Charles has mentioned, that people are in certain cases looking at that as a possibility, where they've done that before, but we're not seeing yet or hearing yet an overwhelming willingness to do that. I suppose it could be that the people are hoping that it would not be required and that there would be a longer term solution. But it is not, we cannot discard it. There are some discussions that we are picking up on that, or some considerations for that.
Right, thanks. Now, Jaap, Sasol is looking at a relatively short bridging period. What happens thereafter? Is the idea to suddenly stop producing MRG?
Rudy, Yuri, I think and I think the presentation that went to Parliament as well, I think the commitment was to put something into the market to give us some breathing space to look at alternatives and look at bringing LNG. like I indicated in the backside, we are looking at can we extend the MRG? And again, with the two main provisos, is can we do it on a non-interruptible basis to start putting MRG into the market, and we can't guarantee supply. I think that is one thing that we need to, of course, establish. I learn a lot about Synfuels every day these days of how interconnected the ones are. And then secondly, from a consistency perspective, if we continue post what we currently have, can we provide, or can Synfuels produce a MRG product or a synthetic gas product that is consistent in from a component perspective, that I would like not to have this discussion on burner tips again every 3 weeks when there's a change in energy specs. So all of that are being done, and hopefully by the time that contracts need to be signed mid next year, we would have a better understanding of what Secunda actually can do from a longer term perspective, and the discussions earlier on LPG being blended in and all of that are also, of course, or other products being blended in. But every time that you do something like that, there's capital cost required, and we need to understand from an economic perspective, and of course also from a long-term perspective, what is feasible, and that work is underway. So very optimistic, and I look forward to seeing that the results. But we'll let you know as soon as we've got updates from Secunda on can it be longer, can it be more, and the confidence levels of doing that. We will definitely go to the market.
Okay, thanks, Jaap. We have a couple of questions from Andre Higu, one of our previous speakers. What supply scenarios are being considered by Sasol post 2030? Is Sasol still ambitious to be an LNG aggregator, or should the external market continue to secure their own supply of gas? Jaap,
I think
this is probably yours.
No, it was probably mine. Andre, I think the presentation that went to Parliament, I think that highlights we Sasol would like to play. But from an overall perspective, Sasol probably, okay, South Africa is probably the only country in the world where you only have one shipper in that brings in gas. So whatever Sasol do, I don't think that should stop anybody else from also looking at bringing in any supply.
Okay. Does that mean Sasol would be ambitious to be an LNG aggregator?
That was if it can be linked to gas to power, as was described in Parliament last week, yes.
Okay, thanks. We have a question about specific estimates in terms of rand per gigajoule, but this is not the type of forum for a question like that, and I would refer Mr. Chauke to contact you directly, Jaap, and then let them start the process rolling for getting a formal quotation for future cost estimates.
Yeah, and if it's a current customer, his key account manager, he would know them. If it's not a current customer, he can contact me, that we can have the discussion. I suppose within the next 3 or 4 weeks, we can't probably wait longer than that. The first discussions with customers need to happen, and then I suppose the level of where we're looking at will be known to industry.
An interesting comment and question from Etienne Rubbers again. If you displace fuel and chemical production with the MRG you supply to the market, does that mean you can charge a ridiculously high price for the MRG?
I think it's the same question as the previous one. I mean, there will be discussions on on the price and from a regulatory perspective with our customers, and we will have that on a one-on-one basis, and I don't think this is a forum for that.
Yeah. Okay. There's an interesting other question from Etienne Rubbers. In terms of the Gas Act and NERSA regulations and competition regulations, should there not be a case for equal misery? Meaning, should all users' natural gas supply be prorated downwards such that everyone receives less gas, including Sasol?
Again, I can repeat my previous comment, so not for a forum like this.
Yeah, but it does make for an interesting argument, doesn't it?
Like I said, we can have a beer some evening, Yuri, and then we can, if you want to, invite me for a steak and a beer, we can discuss. But I suppose not for a forum like today.
Okay.
Yeah, Yuri, I think it is important in this kind of discussion where Jaap is getting on the hot seat to remember that Sasol is fighting for survival in Secunda. It is a very difficult time. If you look at the Sasol share price, you will see that it's a very difficult time. And it is not equal misery, because then many of the current customers will have to help Sasol. But for South Africa, it will be always the best to bring in as much as possible natural gas and put it through the Sasol factory and send MRG into the marketplace, because that will give the optimum energy solution for South Africa.
That makes sense. Is there an opportunity for a totally new entrepreneur to put up a gasification facility and keep on producing MRG? Joel, you've got lots of business experience. I'll start with you.
And I will now join Jaap and say that unless the price is materially increased in the inland market, Yuri, there will be no such entrepreneur.
But there is a facility in North Dakota where they do exactly that. Start off with coal and produce gas, and they put that into the gas network.
Yes, but remember, Sasol 2 was built for a total project cost of 3 billion rand, and Sasol 3 for 2 billion rand, if I remember the numbers correctly. I might be a bit vague on it, but things have changed over time. And the capital costs required now to put up such a facility and meet environmental specs, I don't think it is possible to do it today at the prices that is available on the inland market. Remember, Dakota Gasification is also selling all their CO2 for enhanced oil recovery in Canada, in the northern oil-producing regions.
So what you're saying is one has to look at the bigger picture and cannot directly compare the Sasol situation with what happens in other areas of the world.
Neither can you compare it with the Sasol in the 70s and early 80s.
Any comments from your side, Andries?
No, nothing specific from my side, Yuri, to add on.
Jaap?
I think the capital cost and the time frame to do this it's not feasible. If you do a project like this, it will take you till 34 to get all of that in the permits in place. By then, I do hope that there's alternatives on the table that will be from a total supply perspective that can solve or at least supply most of the demand in South Africa. So just looking, like I said, from a capital and from a approval process, I don't think that will be feasible.
Okay. Petrus, from your side, do you have any specific questions for Jaap?
I was looking at more the overall supply scenario, and I'm not sure whether it's for this webinar, but looking at the importation of LNG via the various ports. Lily pipeline is quite limited. I'm not sure whether we can get enough in from Richards Bay into the Lily pipeline once we get to that point. So I'm not sure what's going to be happening on that side. And then, yeah, the Matolo line will probably be quite a big extended line. And then the other thing I was thinking about as well, once we get an LNG supply in from outside, I guess that links to the question somebody else has asked as well, but you'll probably find that you've got a big volume coming in, and then suddenly we'll have an excess of gas with the MRG. So that's almost a natural cutoff point for the MRG supply into the system then, as soon as the LNG is actually coming in.
Let's answer the first question first. So studies are being done by TPL on the Lily line to see how much gas they can bring in into inland without debottlenecking, and of course the debottlenecking study is also on the way, and it's all of that again will be dependent on how much the cost is per gigajoule to transport the gas in if you have to start debottlenecking that line. So if you look at gas coming from Richards Bay, it's a different discussion than when it's gas coming in out of Matola. And part of the studies that we will do, and the question about mixing all of that, how do we handle if there's all of a sudden 200-300 petajoules of LNG coming out of Matola via Romco, what are we going to do from an MRG perspective? But I think it will be a good discussion to have for a change where we have more supply than demand, and that we can make the right decisions there. So in the short term, it's something on the radar that we are looking at, but I don't think that we need to answer for that within the next couple of years.
Yeah, I agree. Your figures or your graphs, which indicated that the demand far outstrips the supply, was highly exciting, and it means there are lots of opportunities for small-scale gas suppliers in the country, and opportunities for small-scale gas liquefaction as well.
Yuri, if I may add in there, so the numbers that are shown on the actual demand is still very low. So some of the work that we are doing and some other research companies out there, which has echoed and confirmed the numbers. So if you talk about 300 petajoule, the demand in South Africa, if we look at it by 2030, 2032, 2033, would be in the order of 800 petajoules per annum, up to about 1,000 plus. So Jaap is quite correct that we have a demand or a pent-up demand which is unsatisfied. And we have been constrained up to now. South Africa's consumption of natural gas as a primary energy source is only 3.5%. Other countries are in excess of 20 to 33% sometimes. So the demand in South Africa could be significant. And I like what Jaap has just said. Let's have a nice conversation where we actually have more supply than the demand, which we haven't been seeing for quite some time.
Yeah.
Yuri, just to comment on what you just said, as I indicated in the beginning, where I sit within the company, but it's amazing how many small companies are looking at bringing in small volumes of LNG or liquefy natural gas to make LNG for the virtual network. So I think, like most industries, if we can get the first 2 or 3 going, I do believe there will be a big growth in that section of the economy very quick. But we just need to get the first 1 or 2 across the line.
Right. Thanks, Jaap. We've basically reached the end of our contracted time. Perhaps just from our panel members, any further comments or questions you might want to ask?
No, just a comment from my side, Yuri, and you'll probably do it as well. Thank you to Jaap, as a Sasol representative to actually be open and transparent about, what is happening with MRG. We've been picking up many questions on this, certainly because the studies that we are doing. So just to say a very brief thank you to Jaap.
Yeah, well, thanks to Jaap and thanks to all our panel members, and thanks to our audience. A large number of participants today, so I enjoyed that, and we say thank you very much.